Hello, everyone. It's that time of the month, isn't it? And no, not in that way. It is September 1st, okay? And what does that mean? We've finished the month of August, all right? So, today's video is going to be all 13 books that I've read in the month of August in honor of our god Taylor Swift, okay? My name is Caitlin J. Reeds. Welcome back to my channel, all right? Comment down below. What was your favorite book you read this month? What was your least favorite book you read this month? It was a hit and it was a miss for me. There was lots of hits and a couple misses, okay? So, without further ado, subscribe to the channel and let's just hop right into the video, all right? So, like I mentioned, in honor of our dear god Taylor Swift, I've read 13 books this month, almost 6,000 pages. I consider that a good reading month for me, all right? It's a pretty good reading month. I need to fix the lights. Hold on. Without further ado, let's just jump right into it, okay? First book I read in the month of August was A Gathering Storm, book 12 of the Wheel of Time. This was one of my favorite Wheel of Time books in some respects and some of my least favorite time books in other respects, okay? This, I believe, is the beginning of Brandon Sanderson's writing of the Wheel of Time, and I have some thoughts, okay? I have a couple thoughts on how Brandon Sanderson took it, okay? If this was Robert Jordan, I feel like we could have gotten up to 20 books, all right, with the pace that he was writing at. And I know this is an unpopular opinion, all right? I know that, but I liked the pace of those middle books there. I think this went too fast, okay? The plotline I loved in this, absolutely adored, was Egwene's in the White Tower, kind of becoming a novice, but still holding true to her Armerlin, title, and the way she maneuvered, politicked throughout the White Tower, I thought was amazing, okay? But something I had a problem with. I had a problem with the end of this book when it comes to Rand's break, his hashtag, I'm positive now, okay? After being so negative throughout the whole entire series, so irrational, okay? At the end of this book, he has a break. Wheel of Time spoilers. I'll put that up on the screen while I'm talking, okay? But at the end of this book, he has a break. And I just really didn't jive with me, okay? I would have liked to see, even if he did make that positive switch, still acknowledging kind of the, darkness that he holds within, that the world holds within. And still, just that bit of negativity. Because when he's brooding, he's sexier, okay? I just gotta say it. I have to say it. We also were lacking a lot of Elaine in here. We got Gawain instead. Who the fuck cares about Gawain Trant? I know I don't. Okay, give me more Elaine in this book. Obviously, that's not possible since it's already written and published, okay? But the lack of Elaine in this was just disturbing, disgusting, gross, all right? Also, just another spoiler quick. Seeing Elida chained and collared by the Shan-Chen was an absolutely glorious moment of mine. Glorious. Glorious, all right? This I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. I have problems with it, but Egwene's story in this, it's a win for me, so, yeah. Gathering Storm, book 12 of the Wheel of Time. Next, I read Before the Coffee Gets Cold. Don't have this with me in person. I've been looking for this at my local bookstores. They're sold out. Fun. Cool. Okay. So, it was all right. This book made me cry. Deals a lot with grief, okay? Basically, if you don't know, the premise of this book is there's this coffee shop in Japan, and there's this one seat, and you sit there, and there's a ceremony where the barista pours your coffee, and you go back in time to, whatever you want to go back to. But it has to be inside the coffee shop. You can't get up from that seat, and you have to be visiting someone who also was within the coffee shop. This book dealt a lot with grief, all right? You don't know this, and I'm not going to share it, because that's oversharing. But in my life, we're dealing with some grief right now, okay? So this made me bawl, cry, my eyes out. Does that mean it's like a 4-star book? No. It was more like a 3.5, 3-star book. Okay, if you want to read it, definitely you should, because it's pretty short. I would say around like mid 200 pages. So definitely something you can knock out in a day or two if that's, what you like to do. But yeah, it was so-so. Definitely got that emotional pull out of me, but not something that I'll put on my favorites list, right? Okay? And I guess that makes sense because I'm not a super heavy literary fiction lover, but I digress. All right, that's Before the Coffee Gets Cold at a 3.5. Then we have Name of the Wind. All right. I didn't like this book. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Cards tagging up above my video going over all of the reasons why I didn't like Name of the Wind, okay? But long story short, I feel like I was so excited for this book. I had such high hopes. The setting to me is amazing. The magic system to me is amazing. Oh, our main character just fell so flat. There seemed like there was no plot, especially, watch the video that I made because I feel like I really explain why this book just frustrated me so much. And maybe it wouldn't have frustrated me as much if it wasn't one of the most hyped book series, ever on the internet. But yeah, it really just let me down, disappointed me. I'm saying 2 stars now. I don't know if I gave it a 3 stars on Goodreads when I finished reading it, but it's really a 2 star, mostly because that setting, the magic system, it's all so rich and beautiful. And instead, we just get a manic pixie dream girl bullshit love story. I'm so glad that one of the 2 woman characters, or 3 woman characters, we have a homeless girl, we have a fellow student who is a damsel in distress and needs close help, of course, because you can't have a female character in a fantasy book otherwise. And then we have the 3rd and final trope, manic pixie dream girl. Of course, like I said, we can't have a female character unless it's horribly stereotyped tropes. All right? So, yeah, this wasn't my favorite. If you like this book, good on you. I'm happy for you. I'm happy you have something you enjoy. But I did not. So, that's The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. Next, we have Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Sulin Ten. Yeah, by Sulin Ten. I really enjoyed this book. I saw recently Reagan from Prue's Project unhaul it. I can see what she's saying, because it is a relatively short book, but for me, this writing style, it really works. It's very lyrical, very whimsical, very ethereal, shall you say, okay? And granted, it's short. For me, it still connected all the dots. I still got connected to the story, and just with the world. Like I said, I love a whimsical, ethereal setting. This is a young adult book about the daughter of the moon goddess. And if you look up, I believe it's Korean mythology. I could be so wrong, and I'll correct myself if I am, but look into Korean mythology and look into the moon goddess, and she's the daughter of the moon goddess who was exiled. Then we have Restaurant at the End of the Universe by Douglas Adams. This is the 2nd book in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's a lot of fun. I mean, I don't know what you want me to say about it. It definitely got a little more science fiction heavy in this book, which made me enjoy it a little bit more. But it's a sequel, so I don't want to go too far into kind of what it entails. But just know it's just as fun, just as witty as that first book. So if you enjoyed Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, pick up that 2nd book. You won't be disappointed. I gave it 3.5, 3.75, 4 stars maybe. I'm still kind of in between if you can't tell. So, yeah, that is The Restaurant at the End of the Universe by Douglas Adams. We have Just by Looking at Him by Ryan O'Connell. Wow. So I actually finished this book right after doing my audiobook video. Again, I'll link it in the cards up above, but that is a big regret of mine. Huge, large, ginormous, enormous regret of mine, because this is an amazing audiobook narrated by the author, which was one of the prompts in my video. And this book was just so interesting. I think for me, it really dove into themes of addiction and wanting what you can't have, and, self-shame, and shame around being disabled, and shame around having to go through life constantly having to fit yourself in a mold for other people because of your disability. So the main character in this has cerebral palsy. He's a writer for TV, and pretty much what it's about is he gets bored, I guess you can say, in his relationship, and then starts getting addicted to going and having sex with sex workers. Eventually, you know what, I'm not going to go too more into that because I don't want to spoil the book. But yes, he gets addicted to going and to the sex worker named River. River is the sex worker, okay? And so you basically see this relationship unfold, and you see how it affects his own boyfriend and relationship back at home. So I really enjoyed this. I thought it was pretty good. Again, I'm not like a huge literary fiction person, so I did see on Goodreads it had less than 4 stars, which kind of confused me because I thought it was really good. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed my time with this book, and I highly recommend if any of those themes sound interesting to you to read about, because they definitely are triggering, give this a go. Pick it up. You won't be disappointed. Plus the audiobook, like I said, if you are into audiobooks, definitely listen to this one. It was really great. The author did a great job narrating his story. It was a good month for audiobooks, all right? So, yeah. Just by looking at him, by Ryan O'Connell, I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. And also, this cover, gorge. Next, book 13 of Wheel of Time, Towers of Midnight. I enjoyed this book. Also, had some, similar issues that I had with The Gathering Storm. It just seems a little too fast, with the pace that Robert Jordan set. These books seem a little too fast-paced for me. But it was really nice. Again, I'll put the spoiler card up on the screen. It was really nice seeing Perrin kind of grow into his power, fight Slayer. I was distraught by losing Hopper in this, okay? Distraught, just as distraught as Perrin. But you can see from the cover of this is really Perrin's book. It focuses on growing and developing and perfecting his power system, even though I would really love to know more about kind of where his and Elias's and Min's power all comes from, because we all know it's not about the one power, but maybe it's about the true source. You know how Rand kind of taps into that when he's forced to choke Min out in The Gathering Storm. So maybe it has something to do with that. But yeah, I really enjoyed this book. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. We get a little bit more of Elaine in here because we have Matt that's dealing with Elaine. We have Perrin who met up with Matt and brought Morghese to Elaine. That part made my heart melt. Okay, I've been fucking wanting a Morghese and Elaine reunion, and we finally got it in this book. Finally. It felt so good to see that reunion happen on page. Also, we get a little bit more about the White Cloaks since Galad is now the head of the White Cloaks, and that was pretty interesting to me too. I never really found the White Cloaks that interesting, or Galad for that matter, but this kind of turned it around for me, not like 100%, but enough where I'm like, yeah, if he were to martyr himself in the last battle, I'd be down for it, Gawain, boring. Galad, at least we have a little bit of, character flaw, besides just being annoying, like Gawain, alright? And not paying attention and not following orders, like Gawain, okay? But, yeah, 4 out of 5 stars, book 13. Go and check out my Wheel of Time predictions video for A Memory of Light, which I have not read yet. I'm so sad to be picking that up soon, but go look at my predictions, alright? Let's see together what, am I right, wrong, so far off? I don't know. We'll find out. We have Manhunt. Fun fact, I get violently carsick. Ha! And I seem to forget that reading triggers it. Every single time, without fucking fail. All right, I seem to forget. It seems to lapse from my brain. Huh? So, we were on the way to an aquarium. Okay. Anyways, we were on the way to an aquarium in Connecticut, and I got violently carsick while reading this book. Threw up all over my mom's car. How gorgeous, beautiful. Had nothing to do with the book's contents, though. I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. This is Manhunt by Gretchen Felker Martin. Could have been higher, but, as if you're new to this channel, you don't. But if you're not, I'm not the biggest fan of sex scenes in books, all right? Not the biggest fan. This book seems short, has a whole lot of sex in it, okay? A whole lot of sex. And that's fine. I get it from a story perspective, why that's in there. So basically, Ellie, you have to chill out or you're leaving. basically, this is about it's an apocalyptic horror, I would say. Imagine if everyone with testosterone, that actively has majority testosterone, just got these tumors that were like busting out of their skin. It made them crazy and like changed their, like, made them insane in the membrane, and made them want to kill and rape every woman that they can see. So basically, this is about that situation happening. And then these group of people called the TERFs rise in power and pretty much try to Nazi style eliminate every trans woman to exist in what was once America. And so we follow we follow a couple, a trans couple, who are fighting to survive. Basically, they hunt men, and the way that they get estrogen is by eating their testicles. Love that for them. Love that for them, okay? We follow that group. We follow a trans man that they meet along the way, and we follow one of the TERFs. That kind of turns around the tide for those TERFdom fuckers, okay? When we talk about this book, when we see this book, we see, oh, J.K. Rowling was murdered. This book, J.K. Rowling was murdered in it. Oh my god, pick it up. That is maybe like a paragraph long. Like, that is not the story whatsoever. So seeing people outraged about that, or like kind of prescribing this book with just that anecdotal story that happens at one point in the novel, really rubbed me the wrong way, okay? So this book is so much more than that. I really love the nuanced discussion of internalized transphobia, of wanting what you can't have, and because it's almost so forbidden, you desire it. Very interesting themes throughout this book. It is a horror, okay? It does have a lot of body horror, lots of gore. I liked it. 3 stars, honestly, because it was just like a whole lot of like sex described, spitting in mouths described. That's just like not my style, but that's fine because I understand how it connected to the story. But I digress. 3 out of 5 stars. I do recommend this book definitely for the spooky season. Okay, all right, because we're heading into fall time, so I recommend. I think you should read it. Decide for yourself. Plus, this cover, awesome, amazing, and it's directly from a part referenced in the book, which I like that. So yes. Then we have the Obelisk Gate. This is my reread of the second book in the Broken Earth trilogy. I loved it. Did I love it as much as the first book? No, I don't think so. It still was like a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Still was really, really good. But it wasn't quite, for me, as good as the first book upon reread. I don't want to go too much into what this book is about, considering this is a sequel, okay? But if you haven't read the Broken Earth trilogy, I highly recommend you do so. It is a fantasy, apocalyptic, science fiction, all wrapped into one. And it's really, really great. Use of perspective and narrative is great. Characters are great. Setting is great. Magic is great. Highly recommend. Highly recommend. This is the Obelisk Gate at a 4.5. Then, same day, I read I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette Mccurdy. And again, when I say it's a great month for audiobooks, she narrates this audiobook. I wish I waited to make that video until the end of this month, because that was one of the most raw and real memoirs I've ever read in my life. I'm not going to be rating it. Well, it's a 5 stars, but like I just... okay. All right. Cool. Awesome. So, yeah, sorry about that lighting change, but my light blew, so there's no way to fix that besides me needing to buck up and get a new set of lights. But we still have one going, so I'm going to continue. Sorry for that lighting change. Anyways, I'm Glad My Mom Died. This book's an A+, very triggering, eating disorders, control, abusive parents. I really just would, read up on the triggers to this book before reading it, but it's a very powerful story, and especially if you grew up watching iCarly like me. Literally, I wasn't allowed to watch iCarly because of Sam's character. Yet, going through this book, and I, knew this back in the day, obviously the actor and the characters are separate, but going through this book and really hearing and realizing what trauma this poor girl went through during her iCarly days, and how almost the character was almost a mockery to her and her life. And I know they didn't write it as that, but like it is literally the exact opposite of who Jeanette was as a person, and that just like it made me really upset. It was a really great book. It's a really important story. Highly recommend reading it if you have the mental bandwidth and capacity to do so, because it is hard. So, yeah. Then, another good spooky season book, we have Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. Really, really great. I would give it like a 3 stars. It's like a middle of the road fantasy book. It's because it's a standalone. You know, I need a little bit more from my fantasy besides just like a standalone 350-page book. But besides that, this was a really interesting story following sisters. You know, this is a story very much about sisterhood, following a sister trying to save her other sister from this really abusive prince/king. And so her sister's pregnant and she's just trying, it's a race against time until her sister gives birth to the baby and the king eventually, the sister, you know? So it's a race against time to assassinate the king. And I really loved this book. Very spooky season vibes. We have almost fairy godmothers throughout the thing. And I really enjoyed it. We have a necromantic dog made out of bones. Really fun. Really, really fun 3.53 book. I just wish we had a little bit more to the world, to the story. I need a little bit more than a standalone most of the time in fantasy, but this is such a spooky season book. I highly recommend it. I feel like the cover really turned me off to reading it. So just like imagine that cover doesn't exist. Imagine it's a different cover that's more aesthetically pleasing, because Nettle and Bone was actually a really good book. So yeah, I know I keep saying like 3.5, but I really think for someone going into fantasy first starting, this would be a really great option. Okay, great option. Plus, like I said, we're getting into fall, and this very much has fall vibes. So, Nettle and Bone, T. Kingfisher, 3.5, pick it up, I recommend. Next, we have a book that I am actually so pleasantly surprised, and it's one of my new favorites. I don't even remember how I found out about this book. I think it's because I saw a tweet that was, I don't even think comparing, I think just like put these two books next to each other. And the one book was The Poppy Boar by R.F. Kuang. If we know anything about me, we know I love R.F. Kuang, okay? And it was next to this book called A Memory called Empire, okay? Wow. This is a science fiction space opera, light on the science fiction. It's like a fantasy in space. Ooh, I love this book, okay? So basically what it is about, it's about this girl who pretty much trains her entire life to assimilate into this big empiric culture, and the culture she is from, lives in, they send out ambassadors to Texalcani, or it's kind of named to me, it reminds me of like the old Aztec empire named Texalcana or whatever. Anyways, so she's pretty much trained her entire life to go and assimilate into that culture, become an ambassador. And the way they do that is they have these memory lines that are preserved through chips that are inserted into the back of your neck, and kind of, they carry on the knowledge of past ambassadors or pilots, artists, but our main character gets her ambassador chip, goes to Texarkana, and pretty much as soon as she gets there, her chip fries. And she loses that link to memory, that link to, you know, the ambassador before her, the work that he was working on, X, Y, and Z. And pretty much this book is a very heavy plot-based book about getting those memories back and kind of seeing what he was up to at the Empire, seeing what he was trying to do, and seeing everything unfold. This is a gay book. Love that, okay? And I just really enjoyed it. I enjoyed everything about this book. I'd literally never heard of it before this month, but I am so beyond happy that I picked it up. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I loved it. I enjoyed it. A Desolation Called Peace is in my Libby loans and on the docket for September. Okay? This is A Memory Called Empire. And lastly, we have Battle of the Labyrinth by Riordan. Okay, so I knew that from my pea brain memory, this was my favorite Percy Jackson book out of the bunch when I read it the first time. And this didn't disappoint. This was definitely my favorite again this time around. I haven't read The Last Olympian yet, so it could change, but this book is so good. It's so great. I just really loved kind of like the angst between Annabeth and Percy. We have the addition of Rachel Dare. We have the whole Labyrinth as a whole, and I feel like I really enjoyed this after reading Ariadne 2 years ago, because this is a story based off of that kind of Greek myth and legend, and Icarus. And I just love, 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 love. 4.5 out of 5 stars, love. Or I think I actually gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I loved this book. I had a blast. So much fun. They're getting older and closer to the point where Percy's going to have to fulfill his prophecy. Can't say that word. And not become immortal because he wants to be with Annabeth. Anyway, okay. I really enjoyed this. Battle of the Labyrinth, 5 out of 5 stars by Rick Riordan. If you haven't read this, you should before the TV show comes out. You won't be disappointed. All right, so that wraps up this month's reading. All right, that is what I read this month, all 13 books. I hope you had a blast. Hope you enjoyed yourself watching this video. All right, like I said, comment down below what was your least favorite and most favorite, book you read this month. For me, most favorite, A Memory Called Empire. Okay, that was my most favorite, most surprising. Least favorite, obviously, Name of the Wind. It's fucking given. Okay, Name of the Wind sucked for me, personally. Okay? Let me know down below. What do you think? Like this video. Subscribe. We're still at 119. Thank you guys so much for listening to what I have to say. I hope you have a great day and a wonderful day. All right, goodbye.